always feel like we're in like a commercial for Hawaii or something.
Yeah, it's the intro. We're sponsored by Hawaiian Airlines.
Nice.
Taking you there all the way to the islands. That's their tagline I made up. So
We should start including our tagline.
yeah, we should. Which is what, Ralph?
We do have a new
have a
tagline.
new
I saw that
tagline.
on the website.
What is it, guys?
I don't remember.
Come on.
Being hang on. If something about being really healthy.
It's free thinking.
Yes.
What else?
Free living.
No. All right. So it's the alternative. Jeez, you guys are terrible employees. It's free thinking, well-being, and inclusive. Oh, do you want me to explain what it means? It actually it took some time for me to come up with it.
You
So
might
you
as well.
came up with this yourself?
Yeah.
You didn't have like a team
I
of
hired
people?
a consultant, consultant, $50,000 to do it for me. No, free. It took me a while to come up with different things. So free thinking is it encompasses the news that we're doing. As we cover different news on this podcast, but also we're publishing more news content daily because people wanted that. And it's also, and it's free thinking, meaning it's not. I don't want to say we do politics, but we talk about it. But it's not one side or the other. It's free thinking. If you have a good idea and you have a good concept, let's talk about it. Let's have a healthy debate, and let's not kill each other when we're talking about it. So we promote free thought, well-being. That encompasses our, health and wellness side that we've done so well with and covering that, for years. But I also view it actually as a verb and not so much a state of living. We're going to teach you how to be free thinkers. And if you have, something you want to, post on the site, we welcome it. But then we also want to promote you to being well. So it's not just a state of well-being. It's actually we want people to be well, and we're going to tell you more about how to do that. And then the last one is inclusive, and it goes along with what I said for the first thing, which is we don't care who you are, we don't care where you're from. We want you to read our stuff. It's good stuff. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. I don't care what tree you're in. I don't care what house you live in. It's for everybody, right? Whether or not that you want to live healthy or not, right? And that's why we have the alternative daily coffee. That's where that one kind of comes into, is that whether you're not even interested in health, there's some really cool non-health related stuff that we talk about on there, and we just have some really good kick-ass coffee too. So inclusive. We want everybody. The kind of like a lot of people talk about niche marketing and trying to go for specific sects of people and everything. I never liked that. I want everybody. I can say something that you can like or disagree with, but it's going to definitely pique an interest. And so that's our new tagline. So what is it again, Ralph?
Megan?
You're going to kick it back to me?
Free thinking, well-being, inclusive.
There you
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
I get a raise you.
That's our quiz. That's our quiz.
That's our quiz for the day.
That's our quiz for
I think
today.
that's actually
Both
really
failed.
good, because when I talk to people about this company, when I tell them what I work for, I'll sometimes say, just to keep it general in the beginning, I'm like, well, I used to say, I work for an alternative health and wellness website. And
Right.
a lot of times in the beginning, people would think like, oh, that's super hippy dippy. It's like very crunchy,
Right.
oh, are you telling people, that superfood, like kale will cure cancer and, not something else. And so now, obviously I would explain that that's not true. Coconut oil will, but, which I'm kidding, of course.
No, you're not. Jeez.
But now I'm able to, tell people not about the podcast, but about all the news and stuff. And we have been getting a lot of great emails that people are really happy that we're talking about news and current events.
Well,
and
actually,
politics.
I got a really bad one though. It was last week. The good ones are great, right? But I like sharing the bad ones. The guy emailed me. I forget his name. And he said, and this was the subject of the email, was like, make a deal. And I was like, oh, this is cool. He got my attention. Said, let's make a deal. You just continue to cover, health and wellness, and you stay out of politics, and I'll agree to keep reading your daily emails.
Whoa.
Agreed? And I said, so of course. I was like, this is so awesome. And so I responded back. And I think actually he also, saying, I read an article where it had a bad view of Donald Trump. And I'm a Donald Trump supporter. And if you're going to write bad things about Donald Trump, we never write like bad things. We always back it up with something. But if you're going to write something bad about one side of the politician, you should write something bad about the other. And I was like, that. So I responded back and I said, you know what? Thank you for your feedback. Send me your shipping address. I want to send you a free bag of coffee. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. I was like, but I don't want to write. We don't set out to write badly about anything. But it's just so happens to be that was a news story. So I was like, I'll send you some coffee, send me your shipping address, and we'll go from there. And he responded back. He was like, that's a very generous offer, but I'll pass. But if we can just make that deal. And so I responded back and said, no, I'm not making that deal with you. And I was like, I'm just going to leave this right here. And it was actually an article talking about Hillary Clinton's stance on GMOs. And so basically, not to say it wasn't a bad article about Hillary, but we were just not happy that she was, in favor of genetically modified foods. So I just said, I'm just going to leave this one right here because
you were showing him that you also
we cover
write
it.
about
You
other
cover
people.
all bases, right? And I never heard from him again. That was it. Does that mean that I win? Does that mean that I win the feud back and forth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was I throwing shade? Is that what I was doing? No. All right. Whatever.
Do you know what throwing shade means?
That means like burning people, right? Like, ooh, you got burned? No.
Ooh, sick burn.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you
It's
guys are like both
I think
looking
it's
at me
like a verbal side
never
eye.
use it.
I think it's like a verbal side eye.
Yeah,
Like giving a
threw
little
some
attitude.
shade.
Yeah.
Threw some shade. Hey, I'm just gonna place this right here. I was trying to give the man free coffee. I'm not gonna make a deal with Bill in Oklahoma over my business. Yeah,
Homie don't play like that.
that's it. And that's gonna do it for our show. Episode 21. That's what I looked
That's
it up.
crazy.
21. Last
Wow.
week was 20. And today we actually have Ralph Russo joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Ralph is our
Backed by popular demand.
backed by
Yes.
all the ladies and men want to hear you.
Yeah, we're old news. You come on and we get a lot of emails.
Well, Ralph was telling us about this new app called Bumble.
This is awesome. So I have
Tell
a
me.
friend. Well, do you want to explain it?
No, Megan, go ahead.
I have a girlfriend that's she lives in New York City and she's really involved with Bumble. Bumble is a dating app that you can
How do you spell it?
Bumble, like Bumble, like a bumblebee.
Got it.
And there's a lot of dating apps out there, and some new ones, or new in the past few years, are ones that they're not as comprehensive as what you think like Match.com or OkCupid is, where you have to go on and fill out a lot of questions.
By the way,
and
they don't
stuff.
call it Match.com anymore.
What do they call
What
it?
do they
Just
call it?
Match?
Match. Like I was just talking to somebody and like I met them on Match and I'm like, you realize it used to be Match.com, and they were like, what does that mean?
Maybe because now it's an app too.
That's probably what it is.
I think they just
That
changed
has
their whole
to be.
branding to Match.
Oh,
It's not like kids
interesting.
are calling it these days. It's like if you look on the site, that old guy,
Uh-huh.
it's just called Match.
The old guy's on OkCupid.
Oh, the old
Yeah.
white dude with like
Yeah.
gray hair.
Yeah, that's why you're
Nice.
married. It's okay. You don't
Keep
know
going.
these things.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Bumble.
so there's a lot of online apps that you can have on your phone where it's really easy, and it's almost like being on Facebook.
Right.
I know this because I love to play on my friends' dating apps. I like miss the thing with Tinder and whatnot, but Bumble is one that's really, as Ralph is perfectly suited for. The people on there are really attractive.
Oh.
Yeah,
And
it's a good
It's
app.
a bit more
I highly
inclusive.
recommend it.
It's a bit more inclusive.
How long have you been on Bumble?
Since I moved up 3 months ago.
We moved down.
Moved down, yes.
He kind of moved on up.
Yeah.
And so have you had any luck on Bumble?
Yes.
What are their names?
Last names only, please.
Yeah, no. We're not
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, no, it's been good.
Yeah.
Activity's been decent.
I
so
want to
we're
ask
okay.
a question about this because this is the thing that always.
Yeah, can we,
I wasn't
irks me.
prepared that we were going to be talking
is this
about
an
this
open
right
book?
now.
Are we allowed to lob any questions?
No.
your way?
Well,
No.
Go
I'm
for
going
it.
to anyways. I'm going to anyways. So the thing that I find that I notice, because I obviously have my sisters use dating apps, some of my best friends, a lot of people I know. And I think it's great. Honestly, I would be all over these apps.
What is that supposed to be?
I mean, if I was single, I'd be using them because I think they're a great way to meet people. The thing is, I find that friends of mine that when they'll match with someone or they'll whatever it's called when you connect with somebody on Tinder or Bumble or whatnot, I find that people get stuck in these conversations where it's very easy to almost have like a text message conversation or an online conversation with them, and then they never end up actually going out on a date, and then it just sort of fizzles out.
Oh, so there's more just texting back and forth?
Well, I find that, and maybe it's because and a lot of my girlfriends maybe take the more traditional stance, and I can understand this with you match with a guy and you chat a little bit back and forth and you wait for the guy to ask them
Right.
out. But I find,
Whoa.
right, I
Is
know.
that, does that still hold true?
Yeah.
The guy has
yeah,
to.
I think it's more of a traditional approach with things like this. That I'm not saying it
No,
happens
never in a
all the
million years
time.
would I ever expect a girl to be like, let's go get a drink.
Right. So a guy, most of the time, girls are waiting or women are waiting for the men. Not all the time, but sometimes. Most of the time, women are waiting for the men to approach them and say, "Hey, do you want to go get a drink? Do you want to go have a coffee or whatnot?" And so I find that a lot of these guys that my girlfriends are talking to will just message them every day. Hey, how's your day going? Hey, what's going on? It's like
thinking about you all night.
I'm not looking for a friend. Ask me out on a date. So are you somebody that likes to really take the time to get to know somebody, or are you matching with somebody, maybe you chat back and forth and then you're like, let's go out?
I
We
would
should have brought
say.
your mom
I would
in
say.
here, too.
Yeah, no.
And all your sisters.
Oh my god.
Oh, we don't have enough chairs for all.
Oh my god. I hope none of them are listening.
We're sitting at a table with how many? There's 8 chairs, and there's still not enough chairs for you, for your mom and your sisters
No,
to
there's not.
grill you. But I'm just picturing them over here, just like waiting for these answers.
I could see them right now.
It's okay. We're going to send them the podcast.
Yeah, we
anyways.
are.
God, no, we're not.
Yes.
No, we're not. You're not.
Hi,
getting
Jackie.
I would say that the whole text messaging game, it's kind of like it's different for everybody. You have to practice.
You
kind
wait-
of have to practice.
Well, the question is, do you wait? Like, do you actually take the reins and say, "I'm going to ask this person out"?
well, there have been times I've done it too early.
Okay.
And-
Oh,
Yeah.
But
so
what's
how does
too
that happen?
early? What's
Yeah,
too
yeah.
early?
What do you mean? What
does that mean?
specific time frame?
No, but I mean, why do you think it's too early? How much time do you need to actually talk to somebody?
It depends. It depends until that girl is
Did they say
how
this-
long it takes for that
oh,
girl
you
to
think
be comfortable.
they might say no?
Did they say that's too early?
No, she basically ignored my question, and we just continued the conversation like it was a lost line.
You should have said, I said this earlier. I didn't see that you
No,
said
By
it.
the
you
way-
can't do that.
Oh, you can't? Is that
You
not
can't
smooth?
do that. You can't do that.
Hey, did you see what I said earlier? I asked you out.
Yeah. And then a week later, she finally got back to me, and she's like, "Yeah, let's talk about that drink." I'm like, "Oh, so she did
Okay.
see it."
Okay.
So it
she's
depends
playing
on
the game.
it
So,
well, that's what it is.
so does
though.
that count as her asking you out, or does that
No,
go back to you?
it really comes down to it's a game, and it's different.
Oh,
it's
God.
different for all the conversations. It depends on when that girl's going to get comfortable enough to want to go out for a drink.
Was that around here?
Yes,
Where'd you guys go?
I'm not. I'm not releasing details.
We're gonna. Next time you
Oh,
see like
sorry.
a big white truck outside, on the
Yeah.
it's gonna be me and Jake in the front,
Yeah.
So
And like a Channel 4 van.
wearing wigs.
I've been married for,
You've been
7
with
or 8
Gina
years.
for a million years.
and we've been together for between 12 and 14 years, whatever. What time do you go out on a date?
It really depends on what date it is.
Oh,
The first one has to be very casual, low key.
So it's
So
not
I
like-
did it on
it's
a
not
Sunday
like a
night.
dinner.
So it's not like 11:30. Let's go meet at
No. I did it on a Sunday at 8:00.
afternoon or morning.
Not in the morning.
Oh,
I don't get up.
8 o'clock in the afternoon
morning.
is not a thing.
I meant like in the morning or evening. All right, so 8 o'clock.
Evening,
So
yes.
is that early for you young kids or?
You're like 2 years older than me.
I know. I'm married. I'm about 15 years older. So is that early?
Yeah, I would say that was.
Now is that dinner or a drink or just a drink?
That's basically post dinner, get a drink, and then
Do
if
you
it's
eat it-
miserable,
do
you
you-
don't have to.
Do you eat a meal before that? You obviously eat before that.
You snack. You snack on.
I
on
think the
something.
idea is to meet somebody for a drink, and if it goes well, maybe you have a bite to eat after.
Okay.
That's exactly what it
now,
is.
Now this one that you met at 8, did you go out for a meal after?
I'm not getting into specifics.
We don't
Jay.
have to let her know.
When are you going to see her again?
Guys, keep moving.
All right, one
Look
last.
how red he's getting.
One last question. When was the last? Can I ask when was the last time you had a date with one of these Bumble ladies?
A week and a half ago.
Okay.
Good for you. Good for you. All right. Well, that's the dating update from Ralph Russo. How is it out there?
If we're
these
doing
days?
this again next week, we're picking a new topic.
So were you
weekly
using these,
update is
were you
not-
using these dating apps when you were up north too?
Nope.
Really? Because
Yeah,
I
I
was going to
wasn't.
say, well, how did the girls compare?
I wasn't.
Very superficial question, but
I
yeah.
don't care. I'm from
Well,
here.
it's a legitimate question, right? I
but
mean,
we're hotter, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I
Everyone
thought.
talks. Everyone says that New York is better. I never did it in New
No.
York. I never did
I'm
the
gonna change
dating
this
app in New York. What?
Podcast category to entertainment now. I like it. Well, thank you for the dating update. And do we have any scheduled?
Any scheduled? No, not currently.
Not currently.
Give me your phone.
Well, let's fix that during this podcast.
Oh my God. Okay.
What's your screen name on
I
Bumble?
have to lengthen change my password, just in case.
Do you guys talk on Instant Messenger?
Who?
You and these girls like AOL Instant Messenger?
AOL Instant
No,
Messenger.
Bumble its own
Jesus, Jake.
messenger.
I'm just showing my age
Come on.
here. Awesome. Well, thank you. So that's what's going on with Ralph.
Yes.
Awesome. So last week we actually did we covered the Flint water crisis, and we learned a lot since then. We did some digging, and we also obviously we were going to give away some of these Berkey water filters because they do actually filter out lead. We ran a couple articles on what other people could do, and we're putting that out there. We are Alternative Daily is currently doing some things for the people in Flint as well. So I wanted to get an update from our Flint water crisis correspondent, Megan, so tell us what's actually gone on since last week.
So we had a lot of great emails from everybody that wrote in about the Berkey water filter, and a lot of people had great comments about the Flint water crisis. And unfortunately, it is still really, really ongoing. And
yeah, I don't think it was something that's going to stop.
No, and that's the thing is, this is such a big issue now in just national news, and it's not just something that was local, because for a long time, it was really only something that was happening at the local and then regional level, and then it wasn't until people were really taking a look at their children going to the doctors, and they were finding such high levels of lead in like more than 10% of the kids that live in this area. So the problem is nothing has really been done. Here's the thing. A lot of people in the country have rallied behind helping Flint. And some examples of that include, this is really random, but I know this because I love pop culture stuff. So P. Diddy, Sean Combs, he's donating $1 million to the Flint water crisis. Pearl Jam is donating like $300,000 plus, I think it's like $327,000 to aid in Flint. There's tons of people that have taken up charities. Even my stepdad, who works in Boca, their office got together with a church down in Miami, Florida, and we're taking donations for water bottles and money and all of that to be sent to Flint, Michigan. And this is happening all around the country. So it's kind of wonderful that a lot of people are really working to try and help out Flint, Michigan. The problem is nothing has been done to actually rectify the problem. So the issue is that people are saying, and nobody is saying that this is not a good thing, that people are helping out. It's not like they're turning down the money. The problem is, even now, like today, nothing has been done to take out these lead pipes. So the problem is just persisting. It's not going away.
What about, I don't know if you've looked into this. Is there any way to get them out of there, put them in other places?
They can't relocate. It's thousands of people. It's an entire, that would be like saying, this entire town that you live in, plus, it's bigger than this, So,
but wouldn't you want to leave?
Of course I would want to leave, but here's where this gets a little bit tricky. And this is actually I want to take a break for a second and mention that we got a great email from somebody. Her name is Eudice, and she actually wrote in about the, trying to win the Berkey water filter. But she had this is when we go about how we love to read all of your emails that you guys submit about the podcast. She had a lot of great things to say about our podcast, but she did say in her email, and I'm going to quote, she was a bit disappointed that none of the conversations we talk about cover race. And she wrote, especially with the Flint water crisis, a situation in which race and socioeconomic standing play a significant part. So the thing is, we did slightly touch on it last week in our podcast, because I mentioned that when Hillary Clinton, who's been on the campaign trail, she actually is the first candidate to bring this up in her speeches and whatnot. She made a comment in one of her speeches saying, if this water crisis would have happened in the rich white suburbs of Detroit, it would have been taken care of much quicker. So it's kind of interesting to think about that, because Flint is actually 57% African American, and 41.5% of the people in Flint live in poverty. So this is it's a very, unfortunately, it's a very poor, poverty-stricken area. And it's not just because of, the demographics there. There's 37% Caucasians, 4% Latino, 4% mixed race, but 41% of the people live below the poverty level there. And so it's not, yes, I would love to move. I would hope that my family could get me out.
But they don't have the resources.
But they don't have the resources for that. Where can they go? These are people that have to go to jobs. Think about it. These are people that can't quit their jobs, but then they use the restroom and they wash their hands, and that's water with lead coming out of the sink.
Right.
So the problem is, everybody is saying, we appreciate all the water being sent, but the problem is the governor needs to replace these lead pipes. Yeah. And so a lot of people, including, I know he's like a hot topic, but like Michael Moore, for example, is somebody that's really leading the charge, that's saying Governor Rick Snyder, he needs to resign. He needs to have charges drawn against him.
But that doesn't help right
No,
now.
Of course not. But people are saying, I think that the point is that people are saying action needs to be taken, and the person in charge of saying this is not doing anything, and he's not stepping down. Now, the regional representative for the EPA, she did step down. So there are certain people that are actually losing their jobs and stepping down from this. And the governor is appointing a group of people, a team, to work on this.
Right.
But again, they're not replacing the pipes.
Exactly. So I
So
don't
it's
care who
like
steps
what's
down.
going exactly. It doesn't matter how many water bottles get sent there. The problem, people can't bathe in bottles of Zephyr Hills water.
Do you know, are they actively? I see. It's actually the pipes that are actually.
Yeah, but was it the pipes? Because when they were tied into the Detroit water system, I'm assuming they used the same pipes.
So they were. It started with the water coming from the lakes,
Right.
But now is a result of it's also in the pipes there as well. So it completely needs to be overhauled, because now even if they change back to the other lakes, the lead's already in the pipes. It's already in the
Right.
systems. They can't just
The lead was
flush
coming
it out.
from the pipes, right?
It was coming from the pipes.
Man.
So they're saying that a state plan to save $15 million is actually now going to cost $1.5 billion, not just to replace the pipes, but to clean up everything that is currently in the pipes.
1 point what? billion?
$1.5 billion. And think about this.
But let's say they just got it right now. It's not like it's fixed tomorrow,
No.
right? It's going to be such a long.
I mean, that's feds are gonna have to come in
So
and rescue them.
exactly.
On that.
So some of the statistics they're saying is approximately 102,000 residents of Flint have been exposed to toxic water. All children have ingested this lead, and of course, lead is toxic for everybody, but in children it causes developmental
Right.
delays, especially
Have they noticed-
neurological.
go ahead.
And 10 people have died.
I was going to say, has there been any?
10 people have died. So the problem is they're saying that they're calling this environmental terrorism against people of a lower socioeconomic and demographic status.
Who's calling that?
That's what the news, that's what people are saying. The NAACP, of course, is leading the charge on this, saying that it is environmental terrorism and environmental racism. But
I mean,
nothing is really being done.
I mean, I'd be quick to pull that trigger and call it that. But I think that they've probably known about this for a while, right? This isn't something that just kind of came up.
So this
I
has
think
been
that's
being
what the
discussed for a long
uproar is
Exactly.
really about.
Exactly.
Is how long it's been going on.
This has been discussed for a long time. I have been hearing about this on the news for over a year. And then it wasn't until these levels of 9,000 kids with lead poisoning. That's what they're saying. 9,000 children.
So let me ask you this. I hate to kind of sound.
Can I honestly say real quick, 1.5 billion? How about the lawsuits from the 9,000 kids?
I know.
Exactly.
I know.
Well, that's what we talked about last week on the podcast, is this is not going to go away.
No way.
So what can be done? All right. So obviously donating water is good, right? You don't want to, because that's what people like. They just don't know how to fix it, right? So that's your first inclination is let me just donate money and donate water. But what can people do?
Right now, all that people can really do is to keep this conversation going. They're calling for people to write the governor, write the legislatures. But really, I mean, as much as what can we individually do, make donations
Right.
for money to get water to them, because right now that's just the short-term fix
Right.
that we can do. But there's nothing that on our level, living in Florida or even living nearby, anything that we can do, because it has to actually come from, first of all, this is a state and an area. This is a suburb of Detroit.
Right.
So we know Detroit is in serious financial issues. They have been bankrupt for many, many years. This lead problem has been going on since April of 2014. They first started getting complaints from people in
God.
Flint saying that the water seemed funny, the water smelled funny, it tasted funny. So that's almost 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
And still nothing is being done. So now, thank God, there are celebrities and, people in positions of power in government that are using their voice to, or their finances to send money and water there. The National Guard has been going there door to door delivering water. But think about how much water you go through in a day. It's
Right.
not even just drinking water. It's bathing.
Yeah.
It's brushing your teeth. And so it's a really big problem, and it's not going anywhere. It's terrible.
Do you think I'm going to put you on the hot seat? Do you think going here from Miss Udis's,
Do I think she's correct in
Yes,
saying that?
sure.
Yes, I do. I was thinking about that when I was driving here, actually. I was thinking about her email. So what Udis alleged in the email is that, and this article that I just, pulled stats from, which is on CNN right now, which is also saying the same thing, that had this been in another neighborhood, had this been in another state, had this happened here in Palm Beach County, Florida, could things have been different? I think so, yeah. Because I think that maybe not necessarily on the level of, oh, these people are being ignored versus we would not be ignored down here in South Florida. But I do think that based on the area, people weren't as apt to listen to them. That's my opinion.
I mean, that's one thing. I'm thinking more of, is there a chance that there's a lack of resources in those?
Absolutely.
Those towns.
Of course, because people maybe don't have access to the best health care, or they don't have access to.
But even just government in general.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how much do our local governments have to work with as far as financial versus Flint, Michigan?
Right.
It just goes to make you think like how dangerous. I mean, they're probably thinking about a plan how to fix the problem, but it's such a big problem. Think about how much you use electricity and how much you use water each and every day.
Mm-hmm.
You lose both of those things. What do you have?
Nothing.
I mean, I always try to think like, what can you do to fix it right now? And if you could get them out of there, right?
Where are you going to put 102,000 people?
You're right.
I mean, think about business owners, like people that own restaurants there. I mean, anything that would use water in and of itself. People that the hospitals there, the doctors and stuff. Where are these people going to go? It's not as.
What I'm saying is there definitely should be some government aid to help them relocate. I mean, that just seems like
It'll never happen. I mean, it's like a refugee crisis, but inside the country.
We were talking about that. We were talking about that last week. It's so interesting that we're, as a country, so quick to, and I'm not saying this is a terrible thing, but we're so quick to look overseas and look in other places and say, what can we do to fix it right now? And then things happen in our own country. And we're like, oh, well, they'll be okay. We'll worry about that later. But let's look all the way across the globe at what's going on over there.
Sure. So I guess the thing that we can do right now is just continue to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll continue to cover it in our articles and everything, but then just obviously continue to talk about it with your friends, family, your community, because that sucks.
If you're financially able to, maybe go online, look at some of the various organizations that you can donate through. Maybe, the Humane Society, the Red Cross, not the Humane Society, excuse me. The Red Cross, I know, is one that's doing it. FEMA's there, the National Guard. So if you go to those websites, there are places on their websites that show how you can donate water and resources to Flint, Michigan.
Yeah. And that's just, like I said before, if somebody would come in and magically change out the pipes, everything's fine, you're still dealing with people that have been exposed to lead. And something may not show up for another 20 or 30 years in them, but it's terrible.
It's terrible.
So, and that's why we actually decided to give away the Berkey water filters. And Miss Udes won. I just want to read this one from Miss Selena Hope. She is based out of Texas, and I'm gonna just read this really quick. She said, "I've never stopped to listen to you all's podcast before, but I'm so glad I did, because I was really entertained by the content and interesting stories brought to the table. Had this been a year ago, I would never have suspected malicious content in our water systems. However, this year, I've become more aware about the dangers of unclean water through my AP Environmental Science class that I'm taking. I find it so ridiculous that how there are so many toxic elements seeping into our water source, and that so many people are blind to it. And most of all, that an alarmingly large amount of these toxins are from governmentally regulated projects such as fracking." So she actually brings in fracking into that, which that actually is a problem. This one is not related to Flint, but that actually is a problem too when people are fracking with the it's just the effects of that in the water system are pretty disastrous. But I found it really, really encouraging that Selena, who's a high school student, was actually
that's very cool.
Took an interest in this, and so Selena, you're going to get a water filter too, so you can actually spread the good news and the good word with your classmates.
And have fun at college next year. You're so lucky. That's the first thing I thought when I read that email. I was like, oh, I want to be Selena.
And then this next one came.
Megan enjoyed college.
Too much.
Nancy Patrick. This one, she had to win, right? She said, "I would love to have the Berkey water filter for home, but think it would be better put in my classroom. I won't drink water from the pipes there and cringe when my students drink from the fountain in my classroom. I'm trying to save for a whole house filter system."
Very cool.
So Nancy, we're gonna go ahead and send you one. And then this one just talked about how awesome we are. So I don't want to pat ourselves on the back right now.
But we are pretty awesome.
But yes, who are you? Pat Provost.
His email, or I'm assuming it's a gentleman. It might
he
be
was talking about the 30-minute break.
Mm-hmm. That was a very interesting email, how he needed to take a 30-minute break.
I will read it.
No, yeah, this is good. So last week on our podcast, we talked about how important it is. There was an article written in the Huffington Post, and the lady in the article was saying that she works a desk job, 10, 12 hours a day, and that she started forcing herself to actively take a 30-minute break every single day, not a lunch break, an actual get up and leave the office. And she lives in New York, so she's like walking around Union Square and whatnot. And we were and she was saying that just by taking a 30-minute break, even though in the beginning it was very stressful, she was able to come back and actually be more productive. So this person, Pat, wrote in that how important it is to take a 30-minute break, because they literally worked themselves almost to death.
So true about the 30-minute break. I worked for a bank and felt compelled to work from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. just to keep up. Had 2 burnouts followed by a massive stroke in the space of 7 years, and now on long-term disability and have low energy, so I cannot ever return to work. Staying alive is my full-time job. I am grateful to have your podcast for inspiration and knowledge. So, Pat, we're going to send you one, too. Awesome.
And I could relate to that. New York City.
Yeah. Well, New York City will kill you.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, Jake and I were like, oh, we're not going to touch that one.
Oh, man. So that is our Flint update. Thank you very much, Megan. So we're going to go into a little bit more lighthearted segment. We're not going to talk about penis pumps, though.
I know. I'm so disappointed.
Funny, nobody.
Was that last week? I missed that one.
I can't believe nobody in the nobody that emailed us referenced the fact that we talked about penis
We should have
pumps.
given them away.
No.
Could you imagine
Ralph's
that?
going to make a fake email.
This is really going to tarnish my Bumble.
Yeah.
You should tell people to listen to this podcast now.
Yeah, sure.
It's a great way to
I'll
weed
put it
out.
on my profile.
Yeah, it's a great way to weed out like who's serious about you.
Excellent. So this next one
It's about you.
It's not about. Okay, I guess it is.
Let's make it all about you.
But I want to title it. What I learned from not having cable for a year and a half. So growing up, we always had cable at our house. And my dad tells the now infamous story of, I think I was like in elementary school or something like that, and I was like watching Beavis and Butthead, and my dad said like, turn it off, let's go to the library. And I looked at him and I said, I don't want to go to no library. He cut cable at that time. So, and we actually ended up getting it back because like the Olympics were on and we were like really kind of into that and seeing that and stuff like that. So we kind of grew up with it on and off, but we were always outside doing different things. And then, when college came around, I got like the big, massive DirecTV package with all the channels because I could, and I'm in college, right? And then after that, growing up, and after that, and kind of moving out into your own, you get cable, and that's just like when you get a new apartment, when you get a new like house, whatever. It's just like, okay, let's turn the cable on, whatever. So when we moved a year and a half ago, and our cable bills were always like, and you guys can probably know this, cable bills are like 200.
Yeah,
200
yeah, that's
bucks.
my
It's
cable
crazy.
bill, including internet.
So when we moved into this house, I was thinking, I was like, let's just get internet. You know what? If there's anything, we really don't watch a lot of TV, but let's just see if we can just go without cable. So now it's been a year and a half. We haven't had cable. I would be lying if I said that I didn't watch any TV. I will occasionally watch if there's like the Super Bowl on or something like that. You can use Megan and I, and we were talking about this. You can use somebody's like login for like cable and stuff like that. But I've probably done that maybe like 5 times. We just don't watch it anymore, and so. I've loved it. I just haven't had the need for it. And I was thinking about this earlier today. The things that I've learned, like it's been great. One, it saves a bunch of money. My bill from Comcast is $40.
Wow.
And it's for high-speed internet, and that's all it is. And so if there's anything that happens, like whether it's like news stuff or things that I want to see, you can obviously just get it online and everything. We do have. It's funny. We have 3 TVs in the house. The one that's in kind of like the quote-unquote family room. It's hooked up to an Apple TV, so you can maybe every once in a while see Bubble Guppies on there. But
Frozen on repeat.
Frozen on repeat, or whether it's documentaries and stuff like that. But we just don't watch a lot. And we had an uncle in town over the Christmas break, and one of the rooms there's a TV, and he came out and he said, he's like, I turned the TV on. He's like, but how do I switch the channels? It's not working. And I said, it's just plugged into the wall. I was like, it's literally there for looks. We just had it. We just haven't gotten rid of it. I was like, it doesn't work. I'm sorry.
You bought that new TV like a year ago, like.
Well, the one that's in the family room, we did buy that one,
and you didn't have cable.
Yes.
That's funny.
Well, because we knew that we would watch like a movie once every couple months and stuff like that.
It's a really nice TV.
But in Noah's room, there's a TV that just doesn't work. And then in our bedroom there's a TV that's we have a DVD player if no one just wants to watch some movies or stuff like that. But we very rarely will we sit down through like a whole movie because we just don't do it. So I think it's part of just living. So one is obviously my bill is less, so I don't have to pay that $250. It's crazy because how much you pay for it. Because then when you go to cancel, they're like, oh well, we can give you it for maybe like $150 if you sign up for these more packages, and they just end up just stacking and stacking and stacking. And I just remember when we were we thought about doing it at our last house of like, let's just get rid of cable. Like we're paying $200 and we just don't even use it. But there was like this little fear of like, oh my god, like, what if I want to watch something? Like what if I want to watch like a live sporting event? Oh my god, what do we do? And it was easier, I would say, cutting the cord when we made that move than it was just saying like we're just going to stop it. But it was just, it's been so nice. So the bill is only $50 now. It's so nice. And I just find like we just have this less of a need to watch it, because even when you are paying like $250, you kind of have this feeling of, well, let me at least watch something, right? Because I'm paying this amount of money each year. I mean, you're paying $2,500, $3,000 a year just to have so you can watch TV shows. So, and again, I wasn't a major TV watcher before this, but even now, like I just have zero interest in it, and so lower cable bill, and then I don't have the need to watch it. But also too, like Noah hasn't grown up just like watching TV. Now, of course, she'll watch it with her like family members. We still put it on, but she never has that need. So it was cool the other day. We just got home from something and we were just exhausted. She'd already had her bath. We'd already eaten. It was just like around like 8 o'clock, 8:30, and she looked at us and she said, she was like, "Let's go for a walk." And so Gina and I were like, "Oh," but we had an initial like sigh, and it was like, "No, this is cool. She actually wants to go for a walk."
That's amazing.
Rather than putting on Little Mermaid again for the 8th time. So it's really cool that she actually likes to go to the walk. And I'm just saying this, for me, it's been more of an effect on just having a child. Now she likes to go to the park, so she wanted to go to the park. And then this past weekend, Ruff, you have to check this out. It's a place called Lion Country Safari.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
So
it's so cool.
On Friday night,
lunch meeting.
On Friday night, Noah goes. She's like, I just want to go for a car ride. And so, being the parents, we're trying to like plan things for the next day. And we're like, okay, we got this great place. We're gonna go for a car ride tomorrow. So, Lion Country Safari, you actually drive, and it's a drive-through zoo. They have zebras and lions. It's
not far from here, but it's west.
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes.
It's like being in. It's like the equivalent of being on an African safari. Like you actually drive in your car through a zoo, and lions and all different sorts of animals can walk up to your car.
That's date number 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, that's a good one, actually.
Get my car. We're about to drive for 45 minutes. And so we go through the whole thing. She loved it, and it's one of those places that she can sit up there. She doesn't have to sit in her car seats because it's private property. She can sit wherever she wants. And so we get done, and there's like a little theme park that you kind of go through, and you can feed giraffes and everything. So we get back in the car and thinking, okay, this is great. She had her car ride, and how was it? She's like, it was fun, but I still want to go for a car ride. And we're like, no, we just, this took us 45 minutes to get out here. We were just going for the, we just saw lions from our car. And she's like, no, I don't want to go somewhere. I just want to drive somewhere. And I was like, that's so cool. And so we literally, and this was like on Saturday, right? We could have been camped out watching TV, but I actually put the tripometer, I think that's what it's called, at that time, where we literally just drove. And so and it was like, we drove for like 60 miles. She ended up falling asleep. But we have this kind of like, we take like A1A, so we go all along the beaches and stuff like that. And so we went through like Palm Beach County, through Martin County, and all these different things. And she ended up falling asleep, and Gina and I could have like a chat and everything. It was really cool. It was actually really windy and cold that day, so it was kind of cool of just like, instead of being camped out in front of the TV, we were just cruising. But it's cool that she was just like, no, I just really wanted to go for a car ride. Thank you for taking me there, but I just want to go for a car ride. So that was another thing that I learned, was like you enjoy car rides a little bit more. But going back to kind of like the watching the movies and the TV shows, not to say that I'm like anti it, even though I am a little bit, but like in middle school, I remember there was a couple summers where like, when you can start staying at home by yourself, but your parents are at work and everything like that. And so I remember a couple summers where it was cool. Like I would literally rented a movie every day. But this was back when you had like literally, like the like Blockbusters, or the like Hollywood Video was the one that we would go to, and it was a mile away from our house. It was like kind of like in the neighborhood, And we got some movies. I actually remember me and my one friend the one time we got enough balls to rent Striptease. And I remember
They let you rent it?
Yeah, and I remember like coming into the house and his mom was like, "What is that?" And we like had to like kind of like, "Oh, it's for my dad." You know, it's just like really, it was really hot. And we watched the movies and they were cool. But the cool thing about the actual going to rent the movies was literally like the journey, the trip of like taking our bikes and walking and chewing gum and just like talking about whatever as we go, you know, walk a mile to the store and walk a mile back. And that was the true fun of it too. Like, again, we watched movies, we laughed, and I saw some really good 80s comedies and stuff then. But it was more about like the journey of going to the store to get it. So, you know, I look at kids now and Noah's not going to have any clue like what a Blockbuster is or a VHS tape.
Can you imagine kids that will never know what a late fee is for a movie or dropping the VHS? Remember the standalone VHS rewinder?
Yes.
Because your VCRs couldn't rewind. So
Yes.
I remember we had one like in the shape of a car.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're never going to know what that was. But it was kind of cool. You'd walk in there and you would just kind of like go to a section like I want a comedy, and you kind of look, and they don't have like every movie ever made. They kind of have like select few. Did you ever go to one?
Well, that's because you were at a Hollywood Video. Okay,
Yeah.
Blockbuster had every movie ever made.
Yes.
Every movie ever made. But the cool ones were, well, and it's funny as you go in, and then there was always that one back room where like the creepy guys would come out of, and it was always like all the way in the far back. And of course, being like a middle schooler, you kind of look around the corner and be like,
Who's
"Oh my
in there?"
god, what is that stuff?" But yeah, so I do miss kind of like the old. I'm sounding like old now. I do kind of miss like the old
We
days
are
of
old.
like taking the trips to like the movie stores, and I even remember going there with my family of like whether it was like after dinner. We'd go someplace and like, you know, do you want to rent a movie? And so we all go into like the movie store and you kind of like pick out what you wanted to see and stuff like that. And that was cool. Now it's just kind of like you want Bubble Guppies, bam, there it is, right?
Well, let me ask you a question. What's that red thing, the movie stuff right outside the supermarket?
That's Redbox. So you can
What is
rent a
that?
movie. That's like renting a DVD.
Why would anyone do that?
Well, because some people don't have Netflix. But interestingly enough, more than 40% of Americans do have a streaming service like Netflix or
Right.
Hulu, but that's still more than 50% that don't.
How many movies can be held in that thing though?
I
Well, if you
always
think they're
wonder that. I've
DVDs
used it before.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. I
How
have.
does it work?
And it doesn't come with doesn't come with the
It
jewel
doesn't.
case.
No,
does it?
it's literally a DVD in an envelope,
So you could probably fit a bunch of DVDs.
and it's usually all new releases.
I've never used it either. So
Wait, so when you return it back to that thing,
You can
does
return it to any Redbox, which is nice too. I haven't
Mind
done it in a
blown.
long time. I haven't done it in a long time,
See,
but
Jake, you
yeah.
can still go out and rent movies.
but that's still not funny because now it's just a box, right?
Yeah.
I kind of like the whole like walking around, like picking it up, turning
Yeah,
it
this
over,
is
looking at the
digital.
back.
You're just like flipping through pages on a screen.
I used to on the good weeks. We used to rent video games. That's what I remember.
Oh, good weeks meaning you behaved.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Daddy, can I go get a video game? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Video games, actually, funny enough, they had a longer rent span.
Mm-hmm.
You could rent those for like 3 to 5 days. When movies like
I
the
was
new
not
releases
one
were like
to-
like
one day.
one night
Yeah.
only type of things.
I usually lost interest in like a day and a half. But then there's some people that will actually complete the game in that week.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you, though.
Go for it. Yes.
Okay. So I have nieces and nephews that are like 10, 12. And now they have their iPads.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see what Noah's going to be like when she is 10, 12. What's your stance on too much internet? Because she's going to have her iPad.
No,
Mm-hmm.
it's something you have to monitor. It's-
Noah has accidentally text messaged me before
Yeah.
from Jake's
Nice.
phone.
Well, she has.
It's
I
just a
face-
lot of letters.
I
She does
FaceTime
have-
my 8-year-old
I'll be
niece.
honest, she definitely has like quote unquote her own phone. It's her own iPhone, and it's one of our old phones that she's just got like her like different music on and stuff like that. So she will throw a fit if like we don't have her phone and stuff like that. Of course, I mean it's just kind of like a Barbie now. But she knows how to work Pandora.
Kids really
She
know
knows
how to use
work
a lot now.
Like the other day we were walking through something, I heard like a Christmas song, and I was like, "Where's that coming from?" And she was like, "She's on Pandora," and I was like, "Oh my god!" But you know, and here's what I actually want to get into with this is there's these videos. I don't know if anybody has kids, they probably understand. I don't know if it's like put on by like Russian people or it's like from the majority of them have like Russian accents and stuff like that. And I'm scared of these things because they're like 10, 15-minute long videos of people like opening silly putty and like pulling it, and it's colored, and they put it back in, close it up, bam, and they put it down, and whatever. And it's weird. Let's say it's a red silly putty, it comes up and says red, and then the next one they pick up, let's say it's a green one, they take it out of the thing, pull it, and everything, and it says green, and that's all it is. There's no plot to it. This is just like a person picking it up and moving it around. And I was even telling Gina, I was like, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if there's like subliminal messages in this. Like, what is it? But it was like so mindless, and no, just sitting there, like I'm like, get that off the screen, right? It was just like so. Maybe I'm just being overprotective helicopter parent. But
the first thing I think, being that I work in television, is, oh my God, how do I get a job like that? That's the easiest on-camera job ever. Oh my God, I want that job.
But with Noah, we're very careful with this, like we call it like the screen time. Very careful with it. There's gonna be times she's gonna be exposed to it and everything. I really don't like reading like my phone before. Like if I get in bed, I'm in bed and I don't read it. My wife, on the other hand, I've been trying to get her to stop it, but she's on the phone, and so I'm trying to tell her, I don't want Noah doing that before she goes to bed, etc. And especially like when waking up, I don't want her to, open up her phone and look at it and everything like that. So, I don't know, car trips and stuff like that. It's, I understand. Give the kid an iPad, because if not, they're screaming, they're crying, they're doing whatever. But when we're at home, like when we're going on a walk, no, we don't bring any of that stuff, and especially, and she likes to go to the zoo. We don't bring any of the iPads and everything. She's got to really experience it. She's good experiencing that, like especially with the animals and kind of the environment and everything. She loves to swing. So
would you put restrictions on it when she's 10, 12, 15?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not fair game, right? I mean, she can't just even walk in there and open up and drink a beer, right? I mean, there's restrictions on some things, right? There's restrictions on some things. So, for us, getting rid of cable, we just don't have that need to be by it. I mean, I'm also, like, when I was out in California, like, a couple weeks ago, I was talking with somebody. It was like, it's so nice because there's stuff to do there. Like, you can hike. The weather's nice. You can do things. And similar here in Florida, you can do stuff, right, during the winter. Now, coming from New York, and I want to ask you this, like, I can see it can be so, you could just get so stuck in a rut of, like, it's Saturday in January in New York. There's slush outside. It's kind of raining, kind of sleeting. What do I do, right?
What would I be doing right now?
So what do you do? What do you do? Do you watch TV?
Watch TV.
Is that what it is?
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you do other things? I'm not sure you can't even go bowling.
I mean, they
in
got
Times
2
Square,
feet
right?
of snow.
But think about the blizzard, the blizzard Jonas that was just there. People couldn't leave the house.
That doesn't. That's an extenuating circumstance, right? It's when we get hurricanes and stuff like that. You don't want to go outside.
But you mentioned bowling, right? So what can you do in New York this time of year that does not involve any type of opening up the wallet?
Yeah, that's right. That's a very, very, very good point. And you might have to open up the wallet, or you could go walk through.
You can't walk if it's terrible weather outside.
So TV it.
You could. You just have to get your uniform on.
Yeah.
Play cards. You can play cards.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I feel like I'd be like my mom playing solitaire by myself, maybe with some music on in the background.
You bring up a valid point, and this isn't to say everybody should give up cable, etc. But it's if you have the resources around you to do stuff to get out of the house, I'm a huge advocate for that. And again, if there is a blizzard and everything, obviously extenuating circumstances, but
like you're a monster.
But if it's like 30, if it's 30 degrees and nice outside in New York and there's not slush everywhere, what do you do?
Go out and spend money. That's why I'm down here.
Go for a bike ride, etc. Anyway, so
but yes, you would go for a bike ride. Oh, 30 degrees outside. It's
30 degrees is cold.
It is cold, but there's still people like.
But don't forget, there's like a 30 degrees with a wind chill that'll blow you right over.
Yeah.
So it's just TV's the answer, huh? Well, when I was going to talk about this topic, you both kind of looked at me like, oh, how many hours of TV do you watch a week?
I watch a fair amount of TV. I watch maybe.
Let's be honest.
I'm thinking I probably on any given day maybe watch 2 hours or 3 hours of TV.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because in the evening, sure.
So wait, 3 hours of TV, 2 hours at the gym, 5 hours. Sorry, what do you do for the rest of the day?
I don't know. I work sometimes a few hours a day.
And then what about you?
Probably a little more.
Especially during football season, I'm sure you watch a lot
God.
more. Yeah, I mean, like when the games are on the weekends, I mean, my boyfriend will park himself in front of the couch from the first game until I come home from work.
Really?
Easy.
A lot of people do that. And if you go to a bar or something, it's no different there too. I think it's funny that you're definitely not the majority.
I know.
with not
As I'm
watching.
telling you that story, you guys are looking at me like I have a
Well,
big
because
horn
I'm
on my head.
thinking about the fact that if you think about, if I'm going to lump in like cable television and, you know, premium cable and Netflix and all that, just watching TV or watching
Like
movies
Cinemax,
in
which you're
general.
talking about, right?
Oh yeah, right. Cinemax. But watching, for example, Netflix and all that, that's such a big part of what people do now in the winter or people talk about. I mean, there are so many different channels that have series that like people get really involved in. Like there are television shows that I'm really involved in, and I actually look forward to watching them every single week.
Right.
Or, you know, I mean, that's like a thing that I like to do. And then I work with people, or I have friends that then will discuss those things. So I think that there's a, you know, television.
Why not read a book instead?
Oh, I do read. I read a lot of books.
What do you get more out of, books or TV shows?
I mean, entertainment wise, it could be pretty even, but it
No,
just
more
depends.
for like your overall life.
Well, I mean, I do love to read. I've always been a very, very big reader. When I was growing up, we had.
But expand your vocabulary.
Oh, yeah,
It makes
no.
your brain work a little bit harder.
But then you can watch things on television. Like you can watch cool documentaries. You can learn a lot of different things
I like
too.
documentaries.
Yeah, I like watching a lot of documentaries as well. So there's different. I think it's a balance. I mean, yes, you should not sit in front of the television. And unfortunately, I think, you know, if our generation, you know, our age, 20s and 30s, watch a good amount of TV, our children are watching twice as much, and they're on tablets all day. I mean, think about how much you use your phone, but compare it to how many teenagers are literally on Facebook or Snapchat or all that all
But that's
day
a good point,
long.
because I have to separate the two, right?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, number one is how many channels are out there. That there's going to be a revolution in TV where they're going to be like, you know, we got to cut this down. But I separate internet and those devices from TV completely, because at least with internet devices, it takes somewhat of a mental aptitude to be able to operate and
But if
flow
we're
through
talking
the
about
internet.
3-year-olds that can use
No.
iPads, how
Yeah,
much mental
no.
aptitude do you need to use?
Yeah,
an
how many
internet
people
You're
do you
wrong,
see walking
Ralph.
You're wrong, Ralph. But no, seriously, the thumb generation, how many people do you see walking around like this? When I see people literally walking like this, I just, it infuriates me. Like when they're sitting there holding their phone right above their face, walking, I'm like, you're missing everything around you.
You know, somebody walked into me the other day on the sidewalk
that.
because they were texting and walking. And I got really, really annoyed, and I kind of said something.
Well, and
to
especially,
them.
but here's the problem too.
Did you?
Yeah, I can't help myself. I always talk shit to people when they upset me.
Well, here's the problem too, is because texting and driving is really bad
Yeah,
too.
I do it. It's
So-
horrible.
Ralph, you should
Horrible.
not know.
That's
It's
really
really
bad.
bad.
Horrible. Horrible.
You might as well just be drinking and driving.
Horrible.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm just
That's
saying.
terrible. Like what I do is I'm driving, especially like on the interstate, and you see people.
How many people do you see looking down at their phones?
80%.
All the time.
80%.
It's crazy.
And so what I'll do is I always give a friendly honk when I'm driving by and I see them on their phone, and I don't sit there and stare at them because that's actually not as as bad as that is. But you give them like a kind of friendly honk so they kind of look up, and at least they're kind of become aware for a second. But it's so bad.
So bad.
It's so,
So
bad.
bad.
It's terrible.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
You know
Ralph,
what?
I can't believe you. Well, thank you for being honest.
Usually I'm working.
Stop it.
You need more time off.
Your
That's
ass-
what it is.
your asshole
He wouldn't be
boss.
texting and driving if he wasn't working so much.
Yeah, but I think so the screen time from watching TV, I'd be willing to bet. I have no data behind this. If I had to bet, I would say the people that watch, you might be in the slower side of this. The people that watch 3 hours of TV a day are also probably, when they're out in the world, on their phone most of the time, not taking everything in.
Perhaps.
And I think that's definitely an issue. I mean, it's such an issue as you're out walking around and looking at things. It's kind of like, picking up your phone. Oh, did somebody text me? Blah blah blah. It's not good. It's not good.
I agree. I think there has to, as long as there's a happy balance, right?
What is balance though? Right?
I mean, I
watch
nieces-
3 hours of TV, but I work out for 2 hours.
Sure.
So isn't that okay?
My nieces are getting into these games now where it's quote unquote programming, right?
Yeah, a lot of
You
kids
know what
are
I
doing
mean?
stuff like that.
And I think it's really cool because then there's Uncle Ralph. He's sitting down. I'm like, I love this game because essentially
They're programming.
You actually, it's a game of, okay, you're at spot A. How do you get to spot B?
Right.
Utilizing all of these, if and type functionalities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
So
yep.
in place of the if and functionalities and the Boolean expressions,
Sure.
you kind of have like puzzle pieces or pathways or
No,
you know what I mean? And it's a really fun game, but I'm just like looking at it. I'm like, this is going to explode into, you know, a resurgence of computer science because the fundamentals of logistics and
if
you know,
and statements and
Yeah.
no, that's good. I mean, but they can't be on that all day, right? I mean,
they can't be on. Well, that's what I said. Happy balance, right? Because I think physically, you literally can't be on it all day. I mean, you'd go crazy.
there are people that are on their screens all day.
But if I was to say, okay, do that or go watch TV, I would say do that all day long.
Sure. Yes, if we had to play
You know what I mean?
that game of what's the worst or what's, you know, which is better. I agree with you.
And you could say, what's the better of two evils? I don't even think that's an evil. I mean, again, I like that people. I don't think people are getting on Facebook nearly as much because only for the fact that there's so much content out there.
Here's where it becomes an evil. Here's where it becomes bad. And I suffer from this, but you got to be aware of it. As we're sitting here like talking, right? Or if we go to lunch and everything, like I'd really, really be cognizant of putting my phone down, etc. It's that urge that you get as you're sitting there having a conversation.
It's addictive.
And then you take a step back and like maybe there's a lull in the conversation, and then your immediate reaction is to pick up the phone to check something. And so if, you know, it becomes an issue when you feel the need to leave reality to go do your if-then statements to get to the end of the thing. You know what I'm saying? If you block off some time, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to do some of this for a little bit and kind of put it down. But it's that need and that urge to go back to it is where that becomes a problem.
When I was in Colorado a couple of weeks ago, one of the nights that we went out, I forgot my phone at the house, and big group of people went out, all of us, to a bar one night. And I can't tell you how many times I was reaching in my pocket to see where my phone was, just over and over and over again. It was kind of disconcerting for myself, and I couldn't help it. And I was literally with the exception of maybe one or two people, I was pretty much with everybody that would normally be calling me or texting me. So it's not like I was missing anything so important. And I kept thinking, where's my phone? I was like checking my jacket. I'm like, oh, right, I left it at home. I left it at home. And as soon as we got back to the house, I went and found my phone right away. And I'm ashamed of that. But I mean, that happens quite a bit.
Well, if you didn't have that, what would be...
I mean, I wish I didn't feel that way. I wish I wasn't... oh my gosh, did I remember my phone? How many times have you left the house and been like, oh, did I bring my phone?
Well, yes. And the main reason I do that is obviously just with having a child.
No, of course. I mean, there are reasons for it. But okay, for me, for example, or somebody like Ralph, I mean, I'm not trying to lump you in with me, but I'm saying relatively less responsibility, a lot less responsibility. So I'm like more like your wife. I mean, I will check my phone is also my alarm. So when my alarm goes off in the morning, I do look to see if I got any text messages over the night, if I got any emails. And there's only been one time in my life, which is when my girlfriend passed away, that I've ever woken up in the morning and been like, oh my God, I missed something so important. I missed a call. I'm never missing anything so important during the night, but yet I am waking up in the morning and wondering, has anybody reached out to me yet?
Right.
You know, it's also, boredom is a good thing sometimes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? However,
wait.
But this takes care of it.
Explain that to me.
I am. So when I'm sitting on the couch and I'm not doing anything, it's completely, it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? I need to do something. I need my phone. Let me go check this. Let me go check my emails. Let me go do whatever. You know what I mean? Let me go put on the TV.
I'm going to challenge you on this.
No, but that's how I feel. But I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I mean, I don't necessarily sit on the couch or go to the beach and sit there for hours upon hours and stare at the waves and think that if I'm not being productive at something, it feels weird to me. And I know that's not necessarily a good thing. I think a lot of people out there should have a better sense of taking an hour, 2 hours out of the day and start enjoying that feeling and not making it so distant to them. Feeling.
What I think that you're explaining right there is that people inherently, well, not inherently, but as they develop from being an adolescent to teenager and then being an adult, you start to become less and less comfortable with being by yourself.
Right.
And so when you sit there, whether you're on the couch, whether you're sitting there, whether you're sitting there on the beach, there's kind of like this thing that kind of pulls you away saying, this doesn't feel right, because you start, it's the people as adults, you start to feel less and less comfortable with yourself, which is actually an issue that you need to work. Not,
Well,
not
I mean,
saying,
it's
well,
not.
maybe,
It's
but I'm
not.
saying
I mean, I
in
have
general.
no problem being by myself.
No.
I'll go. I'll go get drinks by myself
No,
and go make
which
friends
is-
with the
and I- and
bartender.
you're great at that. What I'm saying is, but literally being by yourself and doing nothing.
And doing nothing. That's my
what's
point.
funny thing is it's actually, I like paradox. It's actually more productive for your whole well-being by sitting there and doing nothing and feeling okay with it. I'm not talking about complacency and being lazy and saying I'm just gonna lay here and just kind of like daydream and stuff. I'm talking about literally, truly sitting there and being fine with being like by yourself.
You know, and that's I think like quote unquote going for a walk. You know, and again, everyone out there, I'm definitely changing my ways to take more walks, but it's not a comfort zone for me because it makes me think of everything I have to be responsible for.
Well,
but I will say this and premise this: we had conversations about how bad it is to get absorbed with so much technology, but I think the true problem lies in not that people are on their computers and their phones too much. The real problem is the uncomfort people have of just silence.
Right. It is exactly right, because with that silence comes your true self, and people just feel uncomfortable with that. And it's funny. It's something I've also learned through doing my meditation. I do the Keeley meditation, where I can truly just sit there and not. And I'll see the urges to pick the phone up. I'll see them, and you kind of just let them pass. But I remember this is kind of a cool story. I was at. Walk with me on this story. I was at CPAC 5 years ago. CPAC is the Conservative Political Action Conference. I was there for doing a job, so I was not there for pleasure. I don't know who goes to political things
Down
for
the
pleasure.
middle.
No, but even left or right, who goes to political things for pleasure? You go there just to kind of point fingers. Anyways, so I was there, and again, and this was during the time of I think Palin and McCain type of that would have been Romney maybe.
Yeah, probably Romney.
But Palin was there and all these different things. But it was like there was a lot of energy, right? A lot of energy, people around. And this is when I actually just first started meditating and everything. And I was walking to go to lunch. And I've done lunch by myself before, but you kind of go, pull out your iPad and do things. And I literally, and there was like, I guess you could say I wasn't like-minded with all these people around me. So I was going to lunch, and I'm not kidding. It was this, and I don't mean to get kind of like foo-foo on you, but there was like this overwhelming calm and good feeling, because I literally thought to myself, I'm going to have lunch by myself, and this is gonna say, and I'm not selfish as friend, but I was like, I'm literally like my best friend, right? And I was like, and I'm going to have lunch with myself, and this is gonna be great. And I had
like me too.
I had an unbelievable, and you should, right? And there's nothing wrong with liking yourself. And I just had an unbelievably I didn't even pull out my iPad. I just sat there and ate and enjoyed my food. And it was like the first time, I like to kind of jokingly say, it's the first time I pleasured myself. But it was really it was just a cool feeling. And I think that goes into everything that we're saying here is, I think that a lot of people get uncomfortable when things start to slow down, and they're thinking, oh, what can I do next, because I don't like that feeling. When all actuality, that's actually a really good feeling they should be comfortable with.
Right.
And
learn how to be comfortable with it.
And the way you do it, I'll stand up here on my soapbox and say the way you do it is, by meditating. It's helped me not, want to be, get on the TV all the time, get on the computer all the time, do all these different things. So it really, really helps you get comfortable with yourself and pleasure yourself. If you want to say that. Wow, that was a
hefty one.
Yeah, that was
I
a
enjoyed
good
that
one.
But I remember bringing that up to you guys about 20 minutes ago, and you both were looking at me like, oh my God.
New tagline right there.
So
FYI.
So we're coming to the end of the podcast, but for this week, I like to bring in our political correspondent, Ralph Russo. Ralph Russo, straight from the battlefields of the campaign 2016 trail. What's going on this week?
Well, the big news right now is Trump is blowing off the Fox debate, which is very interesting, only for the fact of
tonight,
January 28th.
Right.
So if you're hearing this the 29th or beyond, you've already know what happened.
Maybe we'll do a recap.
He could make a surprise appearance. He could be like.
He's not going.
I'm going to show how much of a geek I was, and I did watch this. He could be like, the The Rock or The Undertaker and show up like out of nowhere. That's a wrestling reference.
I know who The Rock is.
You know,
Only as
and
an actor, but not as
I
a
will
wrestler.
say this. You're right.
I did watch that all the time, by the way. I was such a geek for
Maybe the
wrestling.
reason you don't watch cable TV is you had crap taste in television. Beavis and Butthead and wrestling.
Yeah,
Well,
seriously.
wrestling's like
I mean, like you don't deserve television.
I was like 12 years old though, watching Married with Children, and that's when my parents were like, "Get off the
yes,
TV."
that was
I wasn't allowed. I'm a few years younger than you guys. We weren't allowed to watch 90210 in Melrose Place.
Oh, my God.
And we would have babysitters that would watch it, and my sister and I would like beg our babysitters, please let us
Oh
watch
my
it.
God. My story with those two, it's really funny because that's my line in regards to how I grew up with 5 sisters, and everyone asked me, "What was it like with 5 sisters?" And I say, "Well, let me picture this vision for you. Family time, it was a must." And it was always, my dad passed out on the couch. I'm the only male in the room, and we're all watching Beverly Hills 90210s back to back. And all I wanted to do was go in the basement and watch the ball game. That was my childhood.
Oh my gosh. So wrestling was great. It's geeky. It really is. It's phony fighting. It's like,
It used to be
it's-
better. Come
it
on.
did used to be better.
I used to watch that too. That
Next-
stuff was great.
Next week we're gonna cover WWE updates. We can't call it WWF anymore. We should get a WWE correspondent. We're gonna start covering that on the website. News, health, and wrestling.
Okay, wait. So what's our political update before we have to say goodbye?
Well, Trump is boycotting the Fox debate, and that opens up an interesting conversation that we could have at a later date. Is number one, what's the viewership going to look like? How are the candidates going to handle that? Is it going to be a Trump bashing session? Which brings up to the point is it smart to go after the media? Is it smart to go after Fox, isolating yourself from the media? Looking at us as a publisher, it's definitely something that's relevant. As a publisher or as a media company, the power of information is great, and we have the power of that information. Now, it's how you do it. That's as long as you do it professionally. But is it smart to isolate yourself against Fox News because they're a powerhouse? But that also brings up an interesting thing that I'm thinking about after watching the Democratic town hall debate the other day is whether they're going to be successful because they're very visibly choosing the other end of the spectrum, not insulting each other, all running campaigns and trying to pick that audience that says, all right, well, I don't like the stuff that's coming out of the Republicans' mouth. I like this way better. Now, is that a smart way to do it? It's definitely a strategy, but I'm curious to see what happens in the Fox debate tonight if they go on a Trump bashing session and try and decredit him as well with Fox News' help.
One of my biggest issues with the fact that Trump is sitting out this final debate.
Is it the final one? No.
It's the final debate. Yeah.
Before the primaries.
Before the primary, for the caucus, I believe it's
when
called.
When is the primary? When is the caucus?
February 1st is Iowa, I believe.
So
next week.
This is literally the
Tuesday,
last.
right?
This is his last chance before the Iowa caucus.
Interesting.
So here's what I think about this, and I know that this could be a much longer conversation, but just hear me out from this side really quick. He's sitting it out, and he says the main reason originally was because he does not like Megyn Kelly, who's the moderator of the debate tonight, who the last time they were together, she was very tough on him by reminding him of comments that he's made in the media in the past about women and minorities and whatnot. And he felt very attacked then. Let's just think about it this way for a minute. So we're going to elect someone, possibly, that when he doesn't like someone, he's just going to choose to not be involved. How many people has the president or previous president sat down with that were very against America or very against our president, and they didn't say, you know what, I'm not going to meet with Iran because they don't like me. This is in my opinion, a very cowardly move to make that just shows that what's going to happen.
Well,
ISIS doesn't like America. Does that mean Trump is not going to take them on?
I mean, and again, I don't want to make this for our audience out there. This is not anything against Trump. This is just
I'm just saying I don't think that looks good.
But that's really important because Britain is now having conversations in their parliament whether they want to ban Trump.
I want to play devil's advocate here.
And then I'm going to bring up one thing though too that really kind of got on my nerves a little bit was when he brought up the trade deficit with Japan. Our relationship with Japan is very unique. Okay, our relationship with Japan,
beautiful country, by the way. Here.
Beautiful country, but yet we are their military force. you know, are you going to upset them by threatening to equal trade with Japan when our relationship is so unique from a military standpoint? It just kind of seems that it's there wasn't really a thought process.
Well, two things
there.
here. One, he's pandering right now.
He is pandering.
He's saying things to that strike a nerve with a specific base that's carrying him through polls. Polls don't mean anything until Tuesday. They don't mean and funny enough, Tuesday doesn't really mean anything. Like the 4 years ago, it was it Michelle Bachmann that won it, or 8 years ago she won it.
I forgot about her.
Yeah, she won it, and she was going to be the person that was going to take on I think Obama, and it didn't happen that way.
And I will say for our audience, real quick, is just the emphasis being down the middle. They all pander.
Oh, everybody pander. So here
this is all just to secure up the base, whether you're on the left side or the right side.
Which
and
is
when
the inherent problem.
When you go into the general election, your tone changes. It is just a fact. It happens in every election. This is nothing new, and it's going to happen in this one.
And what's
going
to happen is they're going to each candidate is going to go a little bit towards the middle once we get past this primary season. But here's where I want to play devil's advocate, because you said that what is he not going to just if Putin wants to meet with him or somebody wants to meet with him, he's not going to meet with them. And you said, in terms of, the Japan thing, here's something that is a little bit ridiculous to me is if he doesn't agree with it, I don't think there's anything wrong with him not doing it. Right. I mean, it's his free will. But Ralph, I think you know this, there are certain, whether it's presidents or certain leaders of specific countries that the U.S. doesn't recognize. We, by I think is it United Nations? I don't know what it is.
Right.
Are not allowed to shake their hands. Right? Do you remember? It was like 3 or 4 years ago when Obama shook the hand of
who was it again?
Raul Castro.
Cuba?
Yes, and that was a big no-no because you're not supposed to shake the hands of countries that you don't recognize, etc.
Well, so we recognize Cuba as a nation. We don't recognize their legitimate government.
Right, but anyway, so what I'm saying was that there was an issue with Obama shaking his hand, and there are certain leaders of different things that presidents do not shake their hands.
Right.
So, isn't that kind
of? That's not a rule, though. That's kind of
And it's not a rule that Trump has to go to the to do the debate.
No, of course not. I'm saying I just don't think
absolutely
it's a good look. It's, in my opinion, very cowardly.
But isn't it also very cowardly if there's a leader of whether you agree with what he's doing or not, if saying I'm not going to shake his hand during this event?
Oh, absolutely.
So why? So why is there a double standard there?
Oh, I'm not saying there's a double standard. I'm just saying he needs to. That's already the president. And didn't you just say he did shake their hand?
Well, Obama did. I think it was. I have to fact check myself, but I think it was Raul Castro.
I think so too.
But there's other leaders that you're not supposed to shake their hands, and they don't.
Well, it's funny. It gets in the conversation where if you go to like an Asian country and they usually bow.
Yeah, but that's not here. But it's so what I'm saying is I don't think it's that big of an issue. I kind of like that he's just saying I'm going to play by my own rules.
I respect that
for the political side of things. However, when you get to the White House, it's a different
exactly.
I get that. But what I'm saying is, if he, why should he do the Fox News thing? You don't have to, right?
No, you don't have to. And the interesting thing is, we were even talking about this before in regards to take the other approach and be pro-Trump on it. Is don't you want somebody out there that's not connected to the media? I think that's what people are looking for, and I don't have a problem with it. I enjoy that. I just think Fox News is really powerful.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens next week. I guess.
Absolutely. I don't mind the fact that he's trying to distance himself from Fox News, and I think that's what his motivation is to just distance himself from mainstream media. And mainstream media is the number one concern on people's minds when it comes into this particular election. Take it away, Jake.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, so much for listening to us today. You can listen to all of our podcasts on thealternativedaily.com as well as SoundCloud and iTunes. If you want more from us, please sign up for our daily emails. You can also find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest.
Ralph, where can you get coffee?
Coffee, you could go to thealternativedaily.com /coffee.
Is it? Can you do it? /coffee?
What do you do?
Yeah. It is
No,
/
no, is
coffee.
I was thinking, is it free coffee or is it no?
No, it's
Yeah, they
/
both
coffee.
go to the same page.
Ralph sets all that stuff up and then some.
Let me double check that.
It's / coffee. It's alternativedaily.com / coffee. And that stuff gets me jacked up, by the way. I love it.
It is good stuff. We had it. They were the sponsor of today's podcast.
Along with Hawaii, right?
And if you want a free bag, I'll send you a free bag. Just send us comments. Send us anything. If you send us comments, I will send you a damn free bag of coffee. And you don't even have to pay shipping for this one. I will send to you absolutely free.
So email us
Take
podcast. Email us podcast at thealternativedaily.com. Subject line coffee, and we'll send you a free bag.
Or tips or comments or
I love Ralph.
Yes.
Photos
Or-
for your Bumble
Or
account.
send me Ralph's Bumble account.
Yes, yes. I want to hear recommendations on what I should put on my profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, send us topics, tips, comments, anything you want us to cover, and I'll send you a free bag of coffee. I'll send you a free bag of coffee right to your doorstep. And it's got Lucy's face on
It's
it.
awesome.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you very much. I can't talk and play, Ralph. I've been trying.
He's working on it.
Should we cover anything else?
I'm
No,
good
it's
right
time to
now.
go.
I feel like every single time, yeah.